Welcome to the Offseason Update Preview Show presented by Bud Light Seltzer. I'm Larry Michael. The virtual offseason continues, and in a week, we'll take you out to the practice fields, which has not been utilized due to the circumstances under this pandemic. And joining us is the playmaker, DeAngelo Hall. DeAngelo, how do you figure this virtual offseason has been going? Do you have any idea?
Oh, man, that's the toughest part, especially when you have a new coaching staff trying to, implement their culture and their playbook and things like that. It has to be tough. Everyone in the league, everyone in the world is dealing with something that we've never seen before. And so it's going to be interesting to see kind of, what teams kind of catch a rhythm a little bit sooner than other teams. But, this Redskins football team is going to have a defensive type of mentality. And we all know, Larry, you've been to a lot of training camps. The defense is always ahead of the offense, no matter what point you start. And so this defense is revved up to be really, really good. And I'm just excited for the season to start.
We're going to talk about defense with the playmaker, DeAngelo Hall. And if you talk about defense with this team, you're talking about Ron Rivera, defensive coach, his system, and now Jack Del Rio, a former head coach, now defensive coordinator for the Redskins. Do you have any feel for what type of defense this is going to be?
You know what? Just knowing Coach Rivera, knowing Jack Del Rio, and just the style of playing which their defenses have, man, they are aggressive, using those front seven guys to just, send different type of blitzes, intricate type of blitzes. And then the back end is not going to be very complicated. They're going to sit back, play coverage. You saw Josh Norman, a former Redskin, have his best years down in Carolina when that front was just hunting, and those guys on the back end were able to get their hands on the ball. You see the same thing with Jack Del Rio and his defenses. And so just knowing, the Redskins were able to go out and get a guy like Chase Young, an impact player on that defensive line, to add with the already stout group of guys they have. If Reuben Foster can get back healthy, him at the linebacker position, he is just a different type of dude on the football field. And so this defense is going to put a lot of versatility on the football field, a lot of additions in the secondary I'm sure we'll talk about as well. I'm just very excited to see what this defense can do, and just see the whole mindset. A lot of teams tend to take on the identity of their coaches, and it's no guy better at it than Ron Rivera. You think about that Bears defense that he was a part of, Jack Del Rio, the way he played the game, the way he demands things out of his defense. Those are two guys that are going to get everything out of everybody on that defensive side of the football. Heck, everybody on this team.
Heck, it sounds like you might be lured out of retirement here by the talent on that front of that Redskins defense, huh?
Hey, if I was ever gonna come back, man, now is the time, man. I can see myself being like a little C. Wood back there, man, where the ball just floats in the air. Because this front won't give those offensive guys a lot of time, and it's ball hawking season out there.
Hey, did I tell you he picked off Jay Cutler 4 times in one game? You already knew that. Okay, so we've got some. We got some Jack Del Rio I want you to talk about. Cut one with Jack Del Rio. He does not want to hear about last year.
There are a couple of things that I would say. One, I want to spend a lot less time looking back and a lot more time, looking forward. And so, a big part of playing good defense is the ability to communicate, the ability to gather information pre-snap and then make any adjustments that you need to. And so that's all part of playing fast and being sound and solid, and we are working hard at that. And so that was one of the issues that's apparent when you look at tape. And I also believe this, in 2020, everybody here on defense, all the coaches, all the players, we all put our signature on what you see and how we perform. And so we're all responsible. So I don't think you can put it on any one person. I think it's a collective effort. And I do believe it's very, very important, and we'll be stressing that from day one.
Well, you hear Jack right there. What last year doesn't matter at all. Whether you had success last year with this football team or you didn't have success last year, that's in the back burners. They're focused on what they can do with this football team right now. And look, I almost went to Jacksonville, and I remember Coach Del Rio sitting me down and asking me, "Hey, I know guys like to, have a little bit of time now. Are you gonna be a guy who's about football and winning games, or are you going to be one of those guys who like to go out and have a good time? And so he's going to demand these guys understand what their job and responsibilities are, and you can't be a part of a good defense unless you communicate. And so I know these guys are going to have a different standard. They're going to communicate the errors they had last year. This coaching staff is going to demand different things than what the coaching staff in years past have demanded. And so I'm just interested. I can't wait to see it. Meeting with Coach Rivera, I mean, you can tell he is a straight shooter type of guy. And I think that's going to resonate well with a lot of guys in their locker room.
Well, one thing they're going to deal with is a new scheme. They're going from a 3-4 to the 4-3. And Jack Del Rio says that's not as important as the team playing by his concepts.
Yeah, it'll be good. I mean, first of all, you have to understand, we're talking about really how we deploy in base defense. And we're talking about base defense in today's NFL is about a third of the game. It's really you're in sub packages, some form of sub packages where you're playing against three wides or more, and you're playing against that roughly 65 to 70% of the time. So, we're talking about a small percentage of the plays, but our overall approach is going to be more where they've been doing a lot of two gapping, a lot of playing both sides of a blocker. We're going to ask our guys to be more penetrating and disruptive, and our linebackers and secondary will understand how to fit off of that, and so they're going to have a lot more freedom in terms of being able to generate the beginning of a pass rush while we're playing the run. So it's kind of an aggressive approach to playing the run on the way to the quarterback, and I think our guys are going to really like it.
Yeah, I mean, Jack's absolutely right. When you think about the way offenses come out and they play, defenses are in nickel 80% of the time. And so you're going to be in a form of 4-3. Whether you're in a 3-4 or 4-3 at this point, it doesn't even matter, because when you get in that nickel personnel, it's all 4-3. You're going to put your best rushers on the edge and your best guys up front who can get to the quarterback. But you hear him say it's a different mindset. Last year, they were trying to stop the run and trying to control the gap. You got to let great players like Deron Payne and Matt Ioannidis and Jonathan Allen and Ryan Kerrigan, you got to let those guys go. You can't just be sitting there trying to tell them to hold the gap. And, I can remember even talking to Trent a little bit last year through the course of his holdout. And, his number one thing was, those guys could be so much better if they just attacked. Now you're going to see in this defense, they're going to be allowed to attack. And that's even scarier, because this front had success sitting on blocks, waiting to make a play. Now they're just going to be able to go. And, man, I know Jonathan Allen and those other guys up front are excited about what they can do.
And, oh, yes, one last point. Chase Young is not part of the defense, Jack Del Rio.
The biggest thing is that he's one player, but he's one player that offenses have to deal with. And so it has an opportunity to create not only disruption and a problem in terms of how the offense deals with them, but also creates opportunities for others. So it can in effect kind of raise the level of play throughout the defense. Obviously rush and coverage has to go together, and so you'll hear me talk about that throughout the year, but it's not about just rush. It's about rush and coverage and them going hand in hand. And you're going to need coverage to hold up so that when our defensive line does win, that they can get there. And so you could have the best rush in the world, but if you don't have some coverage and make the quarterback hold it, and it's not going to be positive for you. So they go hand in hand, but I do believe he can be impactful for us.
I mean, Chase Young is a different kind of guy. I can remember right before the draft and at the combine and just seeing all the things that he could do. There was a lot of people at Ohio State that saw the Bosa's come in and have the kind of impact they had. And they saw Chase Young and said, man, this dude is even better. And so to think how much success Nick Bosa had in the league, how much success Joey Bosa had, and to think that you can bring a guy here in Chase Young who can be even more athletic than those guys, even more dangerous as far as getting to the quarterback. I don't know where all these pass rushers are going to go on the field, but this is a good problem to have for any defense.
Can't have enough good football players, huh?
No, you cannot. We'll find somewhere for them all to go.
All right, as we go to break, here's a look at the Redskins' defensive roster, and we'll be back as the Offseason Update Preview show presented by Bud Light Seltzer will continue. The Offseason Update Preview show is brought to you by Acronis, our official cyber protection partner. Acronis is keeping us #cyberfit and protecting our data, applications, and systems. Acronis keeps us in play on and off the field all season long. And the Offseason Update Preview show is presented by Bud Light. Bud Light Seltzer, now available for delivery. I'll tell you what, it's refreshing, it's delicious, and it is from Budweiser. Bud Light Seltzer. Order it right to your door. We're back, the Offseason Preview show presented by Bud Light Seltzer, Larry Michael, and the playmaker DeAngelo Hall. A couple things to get to before we hear from Sean Davis and Cole Holcomb. Key additions. We saw a list. Here's a list of the Redskins on defense. First on the defensive line. I mean, this is a group. How good can this defensive front be, D?
Oh, man. I mean, you think about what the 49ers were able to do. These guys went into Green Bay and threw the ball 8 times and were able to just run the football. And because of that dominating defense, keep a special player like Aaron Rodgers at bay. This defense can be as dominating as the 49ers defense. And yes, I'm saying it is unthinkable at this point because we got a lot of young guys who still have to kind of, go out there and prove it. But the potential of this defense, man, you win games up front. I've always thought that, even though I'm a defensive guy and I like speed and receivers, but you win the game up front, whether that's with your offensive line and your defensive line. If this defense in a division that has all new head coaches except up in Philly, they got a chance, man. They got a chance. Everybody's kind of behind the 8 ball with this virtual offseason, so offenses are going to be a little bit behind. If this defense can ramp up, understand what their job is, communicate, and make plays, I'll tell you what, Larry, this Redskins team could come out of here division champs when it's all said and done.
And here's a look at the secondary, and obviously a player that you're very familiar with. You told me a few months ago that, I won't say you raised him, but you certainly broke him into the National Football League. A guy we know very well, Kendall Fuller. But we're going to hear from Sean Davis. How much has this back end improved by these acquisitions? Darby as well.
Yeah, I mean, this back end has improved tremendously. Not knocking anybody that was here prior to these guys, but you got a guy like Ronald Darby who's just a veteran guy on that corner who can make every play. Was kind of hampered with a little bit of injuries up in Philly. But when he's healthy, man, I mean, he can compete with the best of them. Sean Davis is another kid who, I mean, just an excellent safety. You tag him with Landon Collins. I mean, and you got 2 guys who can go out and really get the ball. And that's not saying Troy Apke is not going to have a voice to be said in this fight, too, at the safety position. Aaron Colvin, another guy who they, signed last year, didn't get a lot of playing time. He's another guy that I look to, jump in that fold and have an immediate impact. Fabian Monroe. This team is not going to have a ton of just, go out and lock everybody down type of players. If they have guys who can just play in the confines of this defense, that front is not going to allow guys time to sit back there and pat the football. It's going to have to come out. And it's one thing I know about the guys in that secondary. They can catch the football, Kendall Fuller included. If that ball comes out hot, Fabian Monroe, those guys are going to get a chance to catch the football and get some interceptions.
Well, I know you love interceptions. What'd you have, about 90? How many interceptions? How many interceptions did D. Hall have in his career? He knows.
I only had 43, Larry.
43, okay. Seemed like 90. All right, let's put the spotlight on the players. A new Redskin is Sean Davis, the Terp out of Temple Hills, Maryland. And last year, Cole Holcomb, very impressive in his rookie year out of North Carolina. The player spotlight is brought to you by Acronis. Tell us about, and I obviously know this, but our fans out there, where were you born? Where did you grow up? And some of the sports you played growing up?
Okay. I was born in D.C., grew up in Temple Hills, Maryland. Went to Murray School up north in Washington, D.C. by the zoo. Then, went to, I played, I was all sports in, high school. Then, went to play college at University of Maryland College Park. So, I just been a local guy. Got drafted by the Steelers, 4 hours away, so it still, wasn't far. And then, so happy to, be able to come back home and play this year out at home.
My first year with the Redskins doing the play-by-play was in 2004, which happened to be the year that Sean Taylor was drafted. You would have been probably about 11. I think you were probably about 14 11, when Sean passed. So what are your memories? I guess you were in middle school at the time. You're forming yourself as an individual. I'm sure you're, like I said, playing all sports. But what was it at that point as a real young guy that drew you to Sean's game?
Yeah, I started tracking Sean Taylor down when he was playing college ball at the University of Miami. I think it was just because, back in the day they were allowing the colored shields in college. And, I just loved the uniforms. I loved everything about the U. So started tracking them back then. And then, we got drafted to the Redskins. I was always a fan of the Redskins, growing up. So I've always watched them and followed them. And just the way he played, and it was like ballet. Like it was like an art, the way he would do things. And he was just a Swiss Army knife. He did it all.
In the end, it's not the same as when you're actually getting out there and the bullets start kind of flying a little bit, even though it's just a walkthrough. But hey, we got to react now, and instead of just I'm sitting on a computer looking at a film, I go, hey, I'm gonna go here, and then I would do this, trying to get through these Zoom meetings. But we're trying our best. We're doing our best and trying to learn this defense as good as we can.
Because you have a veteran coaching staff and you have a real strong leader on the defensive side. Ron obviously is a defensive coach as well. Does that kind of help you more going into the second year? I mean, ordinarily you'd be on the field learning this, but these guys are veterans, and they've told me from the time I got to talk to them that everybody knows what to expect out of them by the time this is over. Do you kind of get that feel?
Absolutely. I mean, the thing I love about these coaches is the attention to detail. I mean, they go through tremendous lengths of being able to explain it and make it understand for everybody, so everybody can understand what they want and what techniques they like. So I think, because that was my I want to know. For me, I like to know what everybody's doing, so I can sit here and be like, okay, this is how my safety's going to react. This is what he's taught. This is his technique. So that way I can take that and be like, okay, this is how he's going to react. So if I can put myself in his spot and be like, okay, that's what it looks like to me. So we can eliminate those gray areas in a defense through that. And I like the way they explain things.
One thing that's obvious, DeAngelo Hall, this is a young football team. This is one of the younger teams in the league. This is the youngest Redskin team I can recall. I would say since you've been around this area, since you've been part of the team, definitely the youngest team.
Yeah, absolutely, man. This is a very young team, man. You know what? It's good that they're a young team, because when you have a coach like Ron Rivera who knows what he wants out of his guys, he needs young players that can get with the program, that haven't been kind of skewed one way or the other, and can just come in there and go to work. When you got young leaders like Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne, these are guys who understand how you're supposed to play football. They come from a great culture, and so to get Coach Rivera to come in here and get his same type of culture done that he had in Carolina, I mean, I can't wait, man. I got excited just listening to Coach talk, man. It made me want to put the pads back on.
Well, reconsider that, but you're doing very well as a broadcaster. We thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week. We're on the practice field. I don't think there's going to be players there, but we'll take a look at the offseason next week, D.
Absolutely.
All right, for DeAngelo Hall, I'm Larry Michael. Thank you for watching the Offseason Update Preview Show presented by Bud Light Seltzer, and we'll see you next time.